Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the, we're doing the 2023 mid-year top 10s, as I will give a rundown of the 140-pound junior welterweight division and the top 10 there. Before we get into that, if you guys could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. And if there's something you don't like that I'm doing, you could always give me a thumbs down, letting me know why, and tell me what's up. I'm open to all of it. Now, getting into this fight here, or getting into this top 10, the junior welterweights at 140. You know, we got a lot of moving pieces. And with my top 10s, I'm just going to run through the top 10. Remember, these are not official until the end of the year, because those are my big ones, the end of year top 10s. But I do enjoy doing the mid-years, because it kind of gives you a direction of where these guys stand right now in their respective divisions after 6 months. So let's jump into it, and we start with the guys that dropped out, that are dropping out of the top 10 from the end of the year. First is former champ Victor Postol, who, he's dropping out, but he has a chance to get right back into it. He dropped out for inactivity. He hasn't fought since the loss to Gary Antoine Russell last year. I know he went home to the Ukraine to be with his family and to support the war effort against Russia, but he's been inactive, and Postol's been inactive for years because guys don't want to fight him. Well, he's going to get a big fight. July 15th, he's going to get Elvis Rodriguez in the ring. And Elvis Rodriguez is out to prove that he belongs with the big dogs, but Victor Postol is still a very game former champion, and I think he's got a very decent chance of pulling off the upset over Rodriguez on July 15th. So check that one out on Showtime. That should be good, and we'll see if Postol can bounce his way back in. The other guy dropping out is former champion and undefeated Alberto Puello, who was also previously tied for 10th. And he hasn't fought, and the reason he hasn't fought is he got suspended. He tested positive for some PEDs, I think, and he got suspended. So now with the suspension, he lost the WBA title, but apparently the WBA, they're kind of calling him their champion in recess right now. And I think he's going to get a crack. I mean, for all intents and purposes, even though he's on a 6-month suspension, he might get a crack at the winner of the mandatory fight between Rolly Romero and what's his name? Rolly Romero and O'Hara Davies from the United Kingdom. So that fight's been ordered by the WBA. Puello is going to have to sit back and take his suspension for a minute. Not sure if he's going to end up fighting this year. If he does, he'll probably shake off some rust before the end of the year. But his situation up in the air and him getting suspended, and given the fact that he was already at the tail end of the top 10 anyways, that dropped him out. Now, moving into the top 10 now. We're going to start with the top 10. And first is the newly crowned WBA champion, Rolly Romero, who moved up to 140. Hadn't fought since his knockout loss to Tank Davis last year, but moved up and was supposed to challenge Alberto Puello for the title in May, but Puello was suspended, title went vacant, and they pushed in mandatory challenger Ishmael Barroso, who's like a 40-year-old fighter. And Barroso was pretty much out working and out hustling. Romero had hurt him a couple times. I think he put him down once. But then Romero finally got to Barroso in the 9th round and hurt him. And, he had been tagging him with shots other than that, too. It wasn't a complete blowout, but Barroso was winning. And then Romero finally really hurt and looked like he was wearing down Barroso. But Barroso was still throwing punches back. He was still in it. And then the referee jumped in the way and stopped the fight in the 9th round, surprisingly. And Rolly Romero became the WBA champion. So because of that, I got Romero ranked right here, tied for 10th. He's been ordered by the WBA to fight O'Hara Davies next for the WBA title. I mean, I would favor him to beat O'Hara Davies, but I really don't know how good Rolly is still. He really hasn't shown me after the Tank Davis fight and after this controversial stoppage of Ishmael Barroso. I really question how good this guy is, and I guess we're going to see. But, yeah, he should be fighting O'Hara Davies before the end of the year. Also tied for 10th is former world title challenger Jose Zepeda, who's fought for titles 3 times now. Zepeda, he returned and defeated some guy named Goyat by a 10-round unanimous decision. So he returned from the loss to Regis Prograis, the knockout loss last year, and he got a decision and shook off that. So I'm hoping we can see him back in a decent matchup, maybe an eliminator before the end of the year. His highest ranking is number 8 by the WBC. He drops 1 spot from being tied for 9th. But I like Jose Zepeda, and I hope he can get back in the mix and he gets an opportunity in his next fight. Also tied for 10th is former world title challenger Ryan Garcia. Well, no, former interim champion Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia drops 3 spots from number 7. He had debuted last year at 140, and then he got the dream match that he wanted against Tank Davis, but he had to honor 2 weight clause issues in the contract by 1, coming down to a catchweight of 136 to fight Tank, and 2, he couldn't weigh more than 10 pounds on the next day. And those 2 together really worked against him. He tried his best he could, but he got put down in the 2nd round, and then Tank Davis timed him, hit him to the body with a wicked body shot in the 7th and put him down. And Ryan didn't get up on time and suffered the first loss of his career. But he said, he's going to fight at 140 now, and didn't make any excuses. And I do believe we're going to see him back, hopefully towards the end of the summer and before the end of the year for sure. I think we'll see him back, and hopefully it's against a significant opponent, but he might just go in there and try to get a knockout and shake off that loss. We'll see. His current highest ranking is number 5 by the WBA. Number 9, moving into the top 10 now, is Arnold Barboza Jr., the undefeated contender. Barboza wasn't ranked coming into the year, and he got the biggest fight of his career. It might have been in February or March when he took on former multi-division world champion Jose Pedraza. And this was going to be a true test for Barboza, and he passed it with flying colors as he outworked Pedraza throughout the 10 rounds without really any issues. He really outworked him. I thought Pedraza could pull off the upset, and Barboza just went in there and completely outworked him, beat him to the punch. Clean 10-round unanimous decision win. And now he's in the top 10, and he's the WBO's number 1 ranked contender. And he might get a major fight next because it looks like Teofimo Lopez is following through on vacating the WBO title. And Barboza's number 1 in the WBO, and Jose Ramirez is number 2. They're both managed by the same guy, and they're both the same promoter in Top Rank. Easy fight to make, and likely the 2 guys will go at it for the vacant WBO title. So that's what I'm predicting to happen next for Barboza. I don't know if he beats Ramirez. I think it's kind of a 50-50 fight after the way he looked against Pedraza, but I do think it could go either way, and I'm looking forward to seeing that fight in the second half of this year. Number 8 is newly crowned IBF champion Subriel Matias. Matias wasn't ranked coming into the year. He got a crack at the vacant title in February on Showtime when he challenged Jeremiah Ponce for the vacant IBF title. Good fight early. It looked like Ponce was putting it on Matias in the first round, and then Matias showed everybody why he was the favorite as he went to war with Ponce and broke him down and stopped him in the 5th round to capture his first world title. Then just recently we heard that he was going to be fighting former world champion Sergey Lipinets, who's coming off the win over Omar Figueroa Jr. That fight still could happen, but he needs to get permission by the IBF to fight Lipinets, because I guess Lipinets is I guess when you win a vacant IBF world title, you're supposed to make a mandatory, and his mandatory is due, and the IBF has ordered him to fight him because he never formally requested to face off against Lipinets. So kind of a lot of moving pieces, but I do believe we're going to see Matias back sometime during the summer. And to be honest, I still think he walks away as world champion if he fights Lipinets or the other guy, but I would prefer him to fight Sergey Lipinets because he's a good, solid former world champ. Number 7, I'm sorry, is Gary Antoine Russell. He drops 1 spot from number 6. He's the WBC's number 3 contender. He has not fought yet this year. He's still seeking an opponent, which I'm kind of surprised because he had a pretty good year in 2022, but I haven't seen him back. It doesn't look like a lot of guys are lining up to fight him. I hope he gets in there and possibly gets some kind of an eliminator before the end of the year so he can be competing for a world title sometime next year. Number 6, moving up 1 spot from number 7, is Sandor Martin, who's the WBC's number 1 ranked contender. He comes into this one, he hasn't yet fought this year, but he is returning on July 15th, just staying busy, should get a win there. But I really believe Martin could get a crack at Regis Prograis this year. Prograis, yeah, he has options. There's Devin Haney possibly, and Devin Haney would jump everybody. But if he doesn't fight Devin Haney, and I'm talking about Prograis, yeah, Jack Catterall's been mentioned, but Prograis was supposed to make a mandatory defense, and instead he asked for a optional. Once Jose Ramirez, that mandatory fight fell through, he asked for an optional defense, and he just fought Danielito Zorrilla in an optional defense, and now he should be in mandatory mode. And Martin is the number 1 contender. Martin gave Teofimo Lopez all he could handle in a close, somewhat controversial loss last year. So Martin is primed and ready for a title shot, and I do believe we could see Sandor Martin and Regis Prograis fight for the title. And if not, he should be getting an eliminator before the end of the year since he's the number 1 contender. So we'll see. Number 5 is Jack Catterall, former world title challenger. He remains number 5 since coming into the year. He returned, shook off the ring rust from that controversial defeat to Josh Taylor last year. Got a 10-round decision win. Again, he is the front runner to land the Prograis fight if Devin Haney doesn't move up and fight Prograis next. But again, I really do believe there's a chance that that the WBC might order a Prograis to fight Sandor Martin next. He is currently ranked number 6 by the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF. So I really do think that Catterall could be getting a crack at somebody, in a big fight or some kind of an eliminator or even a title shot before the end of the year. We'll see. Number 4 is former unified champion Jose Ramirez. He came in number 3, drops 1 spot. He returned in February and took on former lightweight champion Richard Comey. Broke him down, good action fight, but he broke him down and stopped him in the 11th round and is the WBO's number 2 contender. That's his highest ranking right now. And he is actually, in my opinion, he's probably going to fight for the vacant WBO title next, because it looks like Teofimo Lopez is going to follow through and retire and vacate that title. And Ramirez is number 2, Arnold Barbosa is number 1. They are both promoted and managed by the same people. And I really believe that Ramirez is going to be fighting Arnold Barbosa for the vacant WBO title next. That's a big fight for Ramirez. I really do think it could go either way. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that fight, hopefully sometime here during the summer. Number 2, dropping one, or actually number 3 now, moving up he drops 1 spot from number 2, is reigning WBC champion Regis Prograis. Prograis returned to action in June. He was supposed to fight Jose Ramirez earlier in the year, but that fight didn't materialize because Ramirez thought he deserved more money instead of what the mandatory purse bid gave him. Actually, Prograis was going to give him higher than what the mandatory purse called, but instead he went in another direction. He asked for an optional defense, and he got Danielito Zorrilla. Struggled against Zorrilla, took a knockdown in the first round that wasn't officially called, but he was knocked down. Even he admitted that, and he was stunned a little bit. And then he just kind of hesitated the rest of the fight, didn't really push the action because he was worried about that hand, but he was the aggressor in the fight, if that makes sense. and he went out there and got a somewhat controversial 12-round split decision and retained the WBC title. But now the option is, what is he doing next? Well, Devin Haney can jump the line and fight him. And Devin Haney's expressed interest in fighting Prograis. Then there's a showdown with Jack Catterall that he's been wanting. But also, I think WBC #1 ranked contender Sandor Martin could be there. So I do believe no matter who it is, he's going to get a good, solid opponent next. And hopefully we find out soon who that could be. Next, number 2 is former undisputed champion Josh Taylor. Taylor returned and took on Teofimo Lopez and lost his title convincingly. Got cleanly outboxed in that fight against Lopez and lost the WBO title. After the loss, you know, he wanted the rematch, but he's not likely going to get it. He talked about moving up to 147, as he's mentioned in the past, but in reality, I don't see the fights at 147 for him. But hey, that's not to say that he's not going to do it still. So we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping we see him return before the end of the year. He definitely still has more options here at 140. And right now, he's the WBC's #2 contender. But #1 is Teofimo Lopez, the undefeated WBO champion for now. Lopez, after the win over Taylor, said he was going to retire. And he sent a message to the WBO president that he was vacating the belt. And now it looks like he's going to follow through and vacating the title. And then he'll be retired. But because it's still kind of up in the air and not 100% official, I still got him ranked #1. I hope he does return before the end of the year and fight, because that was a great performance he had. And, you know, everybody wants to see Teo fight. But we'll see what happens. But that's it. That's what I got. That's my 2023 mid-year top 10s. I hope in the 140-pound junior welterweight division. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.